online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Gonna get married. Going to the chapel and we're gonna get married.
What is up, fellow Face-Off fans? Welcome to this very special episode. We're celebrating the 100th episode of Face-Off! If you have not done so already, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, AFTERBUZZ TV. We're also on SoundCloud and iTunes. Subscribe, rate, comment, let us know what you're thinking. We love hearing from you guys. Also, be sure to tweet at us using that hashtag ABTVFaceoff. I am your host, Alana Jordan. You can find me on Twitter at Alana Jordan. And I'm with my amazing co-host, Emma Fyffe.
Yes, Emma Fyffe. That's my name. It's also my Twitter handle, at Emma Fyffe.
And today we are joined by a very special guest. We are super excited. From the first episode, we said you were one of our all-time favorites. So we are here with Mr. Ben Ploughman himself.
Hi.
Yay!
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
And Lauren is actually not here because she's getting married.
Oh.
Fittingly enough, right?
know.
It's almost like they planned it.
Right.
Alexis is here. She's in the booth.
I am. Hello, everybody.
What up, Alexis?
Hold on, I'm going to show my face if I can get it to work. Hi.
Do it.
Hello. How are you? How's the boat?
Pretty nice. We like it. So welcome to Season 9, Episode 3, Surprise of the Century.
Surprise of the century.
Which is oddly titled because that wasn't really a surprise.
Yeah, there wasn't really a surprise. Well, first of all, we had a preview at the end of the last episode about what was going to happen on this episode. So therefore, by definition, it's not really that much of a surprise.
But, you know, century and 100 and
okay.
It's always a surprise because you never know what you're going to get.
You don't.
I'm reaching for just grasping at straws at this point. So this was a super cool episode because not only was it the 100th episode, people were actually married.
Yeah.
On the episode.
No, legitimately, they got married on the episode. It wasn't just like, oh, you're going to design some makeup for some people to wear for a wedding and we're going to have them model it. And then later you're going to go do that makeup again and hopefully get paid for it. And then they will get married. No, it was literally makeup, wedding, all in one sparkly Syfy channel package.
It was awesome. It was this whimsical, macabre, till death do us part type challenge where you guys start in a mausoleum, which you mentioned was...
It's where they shot Phantasm.
Which is awesome. And you worked on Phantasm 5.
Yeah, it had like a very small part to do with like a segment of Phantasm 5. But I ended up making it into like the photo book for the whole franchise. So it was really cool.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
So that's kind of neat that you get to go back to where it kind of began. And then...
Yeah. I thought it was going to be a Phantasm challenge when we got in. And
well, you naturally make that association having worked on it.
I love that they show, the challenge was you guys had to go in and then choose the photos of the couples. And I love how you're like, they're dead and we bring them back to life.
You know what? Here's the thing, though, Ben, to your credit, I have to admit, when I saw the way those photos were displayed with the flowers around the it really seemed like these were dead people that you were going to have to recreate.
It was very...
That's a truly macabre challenge.
That's way too macabre. That's a little much, especially when they're like, now whimsically add it. No. That would just be too far. So we've kind of talked about this on the show before. They give you guys these adjectives that they're like, make sure that your makeup fits this. And whimsical and macabre, that is a difficult combination. When they throw these things at you, are you ever just taken aback by it?
Well, I think going into it, a lot of us were very confused about what direction we were supposed to go with the macabre. we get whimsical. It's a wedding, but are they dead? Like, how dark do we take this?
Right.
And so I don't know. It was just like we were constantly throughout the whole process just asking each other, is this macabre? Like, wait, are they supposed to be dead or like? I don't know. It was kind of a mess, but eventually, I think we kind of, once you start nailing down your concept, you start to pull all those elements out of it, and in the short time that we have, like, it's pretty miraculous that we end up doing.
Oh,
everything this week was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a single makeup I didn't like.
Yeah, they were all so fun, and it was actually very hard for the judges, I think, because they all had they were performed well.
Yeah,
that was one of the things that really pushed me over the. They didn't.
Yeah.
There's footage of me crying that they did not show. Like, I had tears in my eyes. And
yeah, well, I mean,
really cool.
You're going into this challenge with, instead of having models who may or may not necessarily be actors, and even if they are, they don't necessarily really connect to the characters that you have created. And in this case, you are specifically creating characters based on the things that these human beings like, who are already in love with each other. So it's true. I did feel that across the board, that was part of why the majority of the makeups this week were so good. It's because the people in them really believed them and were selling them.
Yeah, there was a lot of heart involved.
Yeah.
And that really takes the makeup that much farther.
A lot of heart, and in one case, literally.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
there you go.
Yeah.
I love too, from the very beginning, when you guys are given the video of your couples, everyone just really focused in and was like, what can we do that will just make this the best day of their lives? Because everyone was saying, oh, these people are so fun, they're so cool, they kind of remind me of me. And it's like, well, yeah, if you're gonna agree to get married on Face Off in makeup that you haven't seen,
right,
you're probably a pretty awesome person.
This is true. This is true. So side note, I so remember when they were casting for this, because living in LA, you're on all the casting websites, and I remember seeing notifications from LA Casting, and also just kind of coming across it on Craigslist, them casting for the couples, and it's like, it's for a show, we're not going to say what it is, but you're going to have to get a full body cast and be okay with special effects makeup. I was like, really? We're not just gonna
Real Housewives.
Yeah, exactly. Nailed it.
I should scour the LA casting.
Yeah, you should. You really should.
Little preview for what's to come.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really do think that the judges had their work cut out for them for this episode, because every single one was just so on point and so awesome. We'll start off with some of the makeups that were safe.
Okay.
Scott and Stevie had Leah and Andrew, and they were engaged over Christmas time, so they decided to incorporate that to the makeup by making them these Christmas carolers that get lost in the woods and frozen, which is such a cool concept.
Yeah. The thing about them was that I was impressed with, but ultimately I think hurt them in terms of them not being a top look, because it was a nice clean makeup. I really liked what they did. The thing is they were so ahead of the game. There was no panicking. They're like, yeah, we ran this in silicone 3 times, and now we got time to run it in foam just to be safe.
I did like that we got that little behind the scenes of Michael Westmore coming in and then them saying, are you going to run this in foam? And then him immediately saying, that is a bad idea. Don't do that.
Yeah.
So I think if they had started with the foam and then encountered those challenges and how to go back and do silicone, then it would have been an issue.
Right.
But because they knew kind of going into it that what materials they were going to be working with, and then had the ability to kind of run a backup.
Right.
It's the opposite of what we normally see.
I know. It's totally the opposite, which they did end up using the foam piece in the end. So... yeah, it was very interesting.
So there you go, Mr. Westmore. Take that. I don't
know. You're wrong.
Right. It's a a lot of times it's a big gamble. You want to follow what he says, and And unfortunately, he only gets maybe a small segment of what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part, we all made it a point to follow his advice. But I mean, there's some times when you just kind of have to go with your gut.
Yeah.
And do what's what's really important to you.
Yeah.
And because that's what's going to show up on stage. And if it's important to you, you're gonna do the work to make it look important.
Yeah.
Because it's literally a direct reflection.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Well,
You
and
more so
exactly,
than-
and that's something we talk about on this show a lot of the time. Is that ultimately, like, yes, you should take Mr. Westmore's advice.
Yeah.
He has been in this industry for a very long time. He knows what he's talking about. However, ultimately, you are responsible for what you put up on stage, and if you really truly believe that you just have it, and not like stubbornly believe, but just have that gut feeling, like you were saying, that you should go with your first instinct and you don't, and then you're a bottom look, that's on you.
Yeah. I do love that the judges were kind of torn on this. I love when Glenn and Neville
disagree about
contradict
things.
each other, and he's like, they really should have put more icicles in here. It's too minimalistic. I like that it's minimalist. That's the thing I like best. And so, having the judges both kind of give somewhat conflicting viewpoints on it.
I think Glenn and Neville work together on stuff a lot outside of it, and I think that probably I've seen some photos of the things that they've done, and they're pretty extraordinary. And I think that's like having like one being so far one way and the other one being so far the other way. They like meet perfectly in the middle, and
that's
it's kinda
nice.
cool. And
Yeah.
that's what I think. That's why it's so great having them and V like as judges, because they really the judges are really good at giving full critiques and having a very rounded out sort of thing to say.
Yeah. Between the three, it's almost like between the three of them, they're a complete person.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. Yeah. And I love to seeing when it's the partner challenges and, seeing how similar to the judges when they work together and outside of Face Off, seeing inside of the competition two different people collaborating to make something that holistically comes together as one piece. And I thought Scott and Stevie did a great job with that. Yeah. Especially Stevie saying, I really don't use this material as much. And Scott saying, well, here, like, I'll show you.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, they complemented each other really well as a team because they had different strengths.
Yep.
Which I think really helped them overall, was being able to kind of use both of their strength and being able to both contribute to this one piece that was very successful. So good job, guys.
Yeah, it was great.
And Libby and Brittany were also safe.
Yes.
This week they had Rudy and Kelly, and they wanted a quote fantastical woodsy wedding, which is inside of a soundstage. So you got what you wanted.
Hey, listen, in the old horror movies, they used to build woods inside of sound stages.
That's
so
true.
It's like basically the same thing.
It's Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's all
Hollywood magic.
It's all smoke and mirrors and woods and water. So I do love that they had this concept of like the water goddess and the tree creature, and then them holding hands and it coming together and kind of feeding into each other. Yeah. And I liked that the characters were both very distinct, but still cohesive.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's definitely a lot of contrast between the two, but they were still married.
Yeah. Literally by the end of the episode.
Exactly.
Yeah, I thought this was a really, really good one. And, they had, of course, the issue of their molds not popping out. And then Missy.
Oh, that was hilarious.
The mold whisperer just walked out. And I just love the way they edited that together. Them just pulling and tugging and hitting and trying so hard. And Missy just,
she's like,
all right, there you go.
And Libby goes, one day I'll learn to open my own molds.
Yeah.
The thing that I really liked, not only about this makeup, but just about Libby and Brittany working together in this episode, was once again, and we said this about Brittany last week, that she's just very calm. Like she's like
chill.
She's like, oh, we can't open our mold. It's whatever. We'll just we'll figure it out. Like there's never any panic with her, and she's just a delight to watch.
Yeah.
That's what I love about this show too, is that everybody is so willing to help each other.
Yes.
Because there's never a time that they're like, oh, we can't get our molds out, and the other team is like, well, ha, figure it out. Nah. And they're like, oh, let me help you.
Yeah.
So also, it would just be ridiculous for anyone to actually do.
Going into it, right?
Then a direct quote from other reality shows is from
Going into it, you know, how do I explain this? You want to see everybody do the absolute best that they can, because otherwise it's not really a competition.
Yeah.
You know, and even throughout our time there, like, I don't think anybody once felt like they were competing against each other. It was more competing with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, that's everybody was so willing to answer questions and willing to help people do stuff. And there were times that you won't see that people really go out of their way and risk their stuff to make sure that other person is at least at an equal point, you know.
See, I love that.
Yeah.
That's just something you don't really see too often, especially in reality TV competitions.
Yeah.
You see a lot of the backstabby and everything. I think part of what makes this show so successful is that you love everyone who's on it.
Yeah.
And you love that it's a family. And you really feel like you're getting to kind of break that fourth wall and sneak in and watch this family of amazing creative people. And this is really the only reality show that I've seen that has that camaraderie that just carries on after the show, within the seasons, and even between the seasons.
Yeah.
Where people are friends outside of the show from, I was on season 2 and I'm on season 7. And
I live with Chloe Sens.
Oh, yeah.
And Kat and Nico.
Oh, no way. I love Kat and Nico.
That's awesome. So, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, I've lived with Chloe for like the last year and a half that I've been here in LA, and then Kat and Nico just moved in like 2 months ago.
I remember when they were moving.
And then Nix Herrera stayed with us for a month and a half, like recently. And, so it's like it's kind of incestuous, like not in a gross way, but like but yeah, no, everybody, it's like such a wonderful community that I kind of ended up in. And even before I got in the show, I was like involved with all these people, and it's just been great, and everybody's super supportive, and I feel like I got really lucky, just to have moving here almost immediately, like a new family to kind of tie into.
Yeah.
It's been really awesome.
That's awesome. I love it so much. Just good vibes and good energy all the way around.
Yeah.
I love this episode, Libby and Brittany especially was pointing out that she's like, I don't know if this really fits the challenge. I don't know if it's macabre enough. And this is kind of the first time that we've really gotten to dive into that, where you have this challenge and you're really trying to make sure that it fits the specifications, because that's something that we talk a lot about with the makeup.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, in this particular instance, unlike when they're doing makeup on a model for the judges, in this competition, in this challenge, you guys were creating makeups for a customer, essentially.
Yeah.
And exactly, so it's like they did this makeup that's clearly exactly what the bride and groom wanted. I mean, they were thrilled, and it was a beautiful makeup. I loved it, but it wasn't very dark.
No.
It was kind of a pretty fantasy makeup. Not to say that it was so pretty that you couldn't see any horror elements at all, but it definitely was more along the lines of the pretty and whimsical and didn't really have a lot of the sort of creepy factor.
It's so difficult on this show because from challenge to challenge, you don't know which one of the specifications that the judges are really going to hone in on.
Yeah, totally.
So, are they going to have the issue where they say, oh, it's too far in one direction or it's not enough in the other? And so having to have the time constraints of creating this look and then also making sure that it fits these parameters, it's so difficult because we've seen so many times where there's just a phenomenal makeup, but not for that challenge.
Yeah.
Yes, totally.
And
totally,
I just thought this was such a good. I liked seeing people kind of questioning that throughout the episode. Oh yeah, and it's really the first time this season we've really gotten to see that. I hope this is what they want. I hope this is what everybody wants.
Now, which couple? There was a couple on this episode that had a pug.
That was Evan and Kevin.
Oh, Evan and Kevin's. Okay, well, I'll get into that when we talk about Evan and Kevin.
Well, let's talk about them now then.
All right, perfect. Well, I promised Jamie from last season that I would mention that every episode of Face Off, so Face Off producers, if you guys are listening, every episode of Face Off should involve a pug. And if you follow me on Twitter at Emma Fyffe, you will see all the many pictures of pugs that Jamie then proceeded to tweet at me. And that Stephanie from last season also chimed in on. Hers were not quite as attractive as the ones that Jamie said.
Pug love, I like it.
Yeah, pug love. But yeah.
Pug life.
But Evan and Kevin, I found I wasn't totally sure. I felt like their concept was kind of all over the place.
I backstage, they're like, man, they got you just from that video.
Right?
Like, be glad you're marrying me, you grumpus. I liked it. The wings were really cool.
Yeah,
they used like anytime that you have to incorporate a bunch of different elements together to make something. They made these huge wings that broke right before they went out.
I know.
If they hadn't have said on the show that they broke, I would have no idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known either. Yeah, the wings ended up looking great. I thought a lot of the wardrobe and overall fabrication and stuff was really nice on this makeup. The face on the girl did not and granted, you know, the mold wouldn't lay flat. They had to tear it off and then do a buildup of latex and cotton, which is like a real old school, like that's taking it way back.
Jack Pierce.
I was going to say that was Jack Pierce's go-to, and that is no longer acceptable in the world of professional makeup.
But I love seeing how people are able to kind of take these obstacles that are thrown at them
totally, yeah.
and still make, you know, a cohesive piece. Because I mean, well, first of all, I'd never be on the show because I don't know what I'm doing. But, you know, if that happened... There's so many people who just go, well, that's it. That's what can we do? I guess just nothing can be done to fix it. And instead, they just immediately are like, okay, well, what are other options?
Yeah, you have to be industrious on the show to like get anywhere in it. You know.
Yeah.
And you know, you saw that with Nora.
Yeah.
Nora and Brittany for the last one.
Yep.
And then I mean, this is a great opportunity for Kevin to like repair it. And I'm sure he probably talked about it like on stage, and you never saw it. Yeah, I mean, I unfortunately, it's so hard. You never get to see a lot of these makeups up close,
right?
Because you're so focused on your own. And it was really nice being able to see Evan and Kevin's up close this time. Because
were they next to you in last looks in the makeup room?
I don't remember.
Okay,
I don't remember.
It was a while
I don't even
ago.
know who was around me.
You weren't doing anything though, right?
Yeah.
Like
No,
you were
no, I
busy.
I was drinking coffee in the corner, watching him put contacts in. I really loved Evan's sculpt of his pug character.
It was cute.
It was just I don't know. I
loved it.
I can't say enough good things about it.
Well,
it's so funny.
and the pug was, in terms of like going for the whimsical but macabre, that kind of makes sense to go with the pug, because pugs are kind of so ugly that they're cute. You know what I mean? Like,
it had this like kind of like sad expression sort of bit, and I just thought it was brilliant. And then I thought, you know, Kevin had trouble with his, and he repaired it. I thought the makeup that he did on it was really cool. Like the shapes that he had around the eyes and the color. I thought it was like, because she had sort of like a Maleficent sort of look to her.
Yeah,
totally. Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
And I like that she could turn to her husband and go, you dog.
Yeah. Right?
Pug puns, best kind. So, I will only do bad puns. So get ready for those. Yeah. I'm going to keep at them. For those of you who are not watching the show, Emma is just shaking her head.
Shaking my head emphatically.
Shame and disgust. Let's talk about the...
Sorry, I'm nodding.
Yeah, there you go. Cancels each other out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the top looks. First, we'll talk about Ricky and Jordan. They had Charlotte and Serge which I love because I'm a big gamer.
Yeah.
And so their
too.
concept, because they had a gamer couple, was that they had a beachside wedding, that they were playing video games at their wedding, which... Sure.
That sounds like a great wedding to me.
And then they fall in and get electrocuted.
Yes.
Yeah. And they really did just nail
They really did.
the challenge.
And you know what's so funny is the very first thing I wrote down about this makeup is, they look like the Beetlejuice cartoon. And that was what the judges said too. Yeah.
Which I love that.
Yeah.
That's, you know, anytime they throw in kind of the references at the beginning, Corpse Bride, Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
it kind of helps set those parameters a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
and I totally agreed with V's praise of this, that she said, you know, they look like electrocuted cartoon zombies.
yeah, pop art zombies,
Yeah.
which I thought was the perfect
Yeah,
description. They are
absolutely.
just pop art zombies.
Yeah.
And having that chess piece with the heart that was beating.
Oh, it was so cool.
That was so cool. And anytime that anyone incorporates anything that lights up, I love it. I don't know why. I'm like a fish. I see like lights and I'm like,
Shiny.
yeah, I love
Ooh, shiny.
yeah. So that was just so cool how they, you know, that wasn't even part of the initial concept. They were like, you know, we have some time. Let's make a cool chess piece. And just to step up our game, why not make it also light up and have a beating heart?
Though Kevin and Evans had a light up beating heart as well that came out of the chest cavity, didn't it?
No, that was
No,
Ricky
that's
and
Ricky
Jordan.
and
That was Ricky
Yeah.
and Jordan. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was the one
what
that
was
they
the
had.
drama then with the chest piece? It was this that they had the drama with the chest piece.
Yes,
Yeah.
that it broke right
Oh,
before
okay.
they went out. Yeah, that
Awesome.
he moved the heart and it ripped part of the chest piece. But
Right.
you,
I didn't
again,
know.
You couldn't
I
tell.
guess that's why in my brain I separated that from this. I was like, that must have been somebody else.
Yeah.
because yeah, well, Evan and Kevin, you couldn't, which I also love.
Yeah,
That's
Evan and Kevin.
That's fun.
Yeah, you couldn't. It was the wings that broke with them.
wings
I
broke with them.
I disassociated everything that broke and figured something broke with somebody else with both of those because all those things
It
just
all
turned
looks
out
great, and you
Yeah.
couldn't even tell.
Yeah.
That's I do love on this show sometimes where they're like, "Oh, drama! The mold broke and this happened."
Yeah.
And you're like, "It did? Like
Yeah.
what? I would have
know.
no
I don't know what you're
idea.
talking
That looks awesome." Yeah, I love this one. And then having, you know, the reflective pieces and the hair sticking up,
Yeah.
and they said this is exactly what whimsy means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that it really was just the perfect embodiment.
This challenge definitely played towards Jordan's strengths because like that's kind of his style. It's like really like high contrast and really bright color stuff. If you ever look if you ever look at like his Instagram or his Facebook stuff, like he's got some really cool characters that he's made. He's working on a really interesting project right now that's like sort of a live action cartoon.
Oh.
I don't really know how to explain it other than that.
Nice.
But yeah, it's like just like a lot of wrinkles and stuff, and he loves cellophane like that. He loves it.
Gee, couldn't tell from his makeup.
Right. But yeah, like this definitely like I think he really kind of had that opportunity to shine that way. With it, so
it was phenomenal. And when you have bright colors like that, it could go either way.
yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, it can be one that it becomes so overshadowed by the bright coloration that then
Yeah.
it doesn't feel macabre and it doesn't feel whimsical. It feels overpowering. But they did a great job of making all of the elements work together. And I loved, you know, the couple coming out and twitching. And
Yeah, oh, they totally sold it.
Yeah, they did.
As did the other couple that was in the top looks.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
Top looks again.
Thank you.
Out of 3 episodes.
That's so awesome.
2/3 top looks. Like that's
Yeah.
gotta feel good, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's just
And this to me, because originally I had sort of misinterpreted what was going, because in this case they actually announced all the people who were top and bottom looks instead of announcing you and you guys are safe, goodbye. Like initially my brain didn't make that connection and I thought this was not in the top looks and I was like, I'm gonna flip the table. I'm done with this show.
Yeah, if this hadn't have been top looks, I would have been like, what is
Yeah,
happening?
exactly.
What
Yeah,
is happening?
they
Is
do
there
that-
rum in that cake?
Yeah.
right. They do that not only for, you know, the viewers, but they do it for us. To
To keep
you
you
on your
guys
toes.
confused. Yeah.
Oh, that, I'm telling you,
nerve-wracking.
that's gotta be so stressful. And just, we were talking about when we were watching the show, I would just pass out. I would just stand up and be like, I don't say any words. And then just like run
leave,
off.
just leave.
And just
Exit stage left.
and be like, that's it. And then just be like, okay, tell me what happened. So standing there and having these major names in makeup critique your work,
It's incredible. I mean, you're I don't know. Like V is like the authority on macabre. Like she's Beetlejuice.
Yeah, exactly.
Like most of Tim Burton's stuff.
Yep,
So
shows them all the time.
So you're really trying to play towards her, but I found out, I didn't realize this, like after we had done everything, somebody's like, Glenn's like really into cats, right? And I was like, what? Yes.
I love this one because I love
Yeah.
cats so much too. So this was an awesome makeup.
Yeah.
They had Lisa and Tom, which she just goes anti-Liza Minnelli, where it's Lisa with a Z,
Lisa
not
with a Z,
Liza with an S. It's
Yeah.
like, what? So first Lisa with a Z I've ever seen. So
How
that
funny
was
would that
cool.
be if it was if she was on Kevin's team?
I'm like, you guys are you're doing this to
Right.
mess with me.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna, at some point, I'm gonna ask Kevin where that awesome Steve Urkel machine is that
Right.
you walk in and it changes your name.
Right,
and
to
you walk out
Kevon.
cooler.
Yeah.
I'm convinced it exists.
Positive.
And that someday
It's the
I
only
will
explanation.
find it. Just add like a Y to my name so people say it right. So you and Jasmine made, they wanted this kind of Beauty and the Beast, but also loved cats, and so wanted to incorporate that.
Yeah.
This was one of the coolest looks I think I have ever seen. And incorporating the yarn into the hair.
That was
Which-
just genius.
It's genius. It looked so cool.
Once we thought of the yarn, we kind of like knew that there was no way we could fail. Like it was like this is telling the story for us, and we can just work from the inside out.
Exactly. And I mean, something that the judges always talk about is keeping your forms believable and having all of your choices be justified. And I mean, brilliant. This is a cat thing. Cats love yarn. It just, the story of these people so informed the materials that you used, and it was
brilliant.
just so awesome.
And I loved the little piece of yarn at the end of the horn
Yes!
where he was playing with
Yes!
it. That just set it off for me when they walked out. I was like, this is awesome.
When they actually when they walked on stage, she was like kind of leading him, and he was like walking all regal like, and he would kind of get distracted, and she's like, no, like shaking stuff at him, and he was like, oh, okay, and then they stood there, and he was like that, and then when he like played with the yarn.
They acted the heck out of this.
Yeah.
You could tell that
Well,
they loved the look.
They're also cosplayers, like they we also hit the jackpot with our couple because they've already been through makeup.
Yeah,
and
no,
stuff
they
like
crushed
that,
it. They were great.
Yeah, and this is also one of my favorites just because they love Legend and the darkness.
Tom Cruise movie and Tim Curry's the demon.
That's why he had the horns, and I was like, I get to make darkness horns.
That's so great. I didn't even realize until you said that just now, and now that's exactly what it is. They're just covered in yarn.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It had a little less glitter than Legend, though.
Right. Yeah, these guys just gave us every opportunity that we could take to succeed. Like it was, I attribute it to a lot to our couple. Like they were just really incredible.
Did you guys just have the one day to spend with them chatting about what they wanted?
No, we just had the video.
You just had a video?
Yeah.
You didn't get to talk to them?
Yeah, no. We didn't meet them until the morning of application. Yeah.
That is crazy. Because I know sometimes on Face Off, it's like, they don't show everything, but that is so crazy that they just gave you a video and they're like, go off of this, figure it out.
And he's like 8 feet tall. I don't know how old
He was super tall.
And then she's like 5 feet tall. And like I said, every opportunity to succeed. Like it was.
Yeah.
I loved
awesome.
the little cat on the horn.
Yes.
Yeah. And that the judges were like, we want to pet the cat.
Yeah. If we had screwed it up, we would have just hated ourselves.
That's got to be nerve-wracking for these couples too, to not know, to make the video, but then not know until
they show up and have makeup put on them
on their wedding day.
Yeah.
To have this makeup.
Right?
So I'm sure
it's a big gamble for them.
Yeah, totally.
So you're saying you hit the jackpot with them. I bet they're saying we hit the jackpot with Ben and Jasmine.
Yay!
So that has to be just extra awesome, knowing that you created this physical embodiment of everything that they could possibly want on this day.
Even leading up to like, there were some things that kind of went wrong. Like he was supposed to have a shirt. Okay. And like the shirt that we had, it was one that was like, it was a button-up shirt, but it stopped button. It was like button my hair and then stopped.
Right.
It didn't fit around his head.
Oh no!
So I had to just like, nope.
Guess
that's
we'll
it,
figure
done.
something else out.
And I had to like paint his arms like within like the last 15 minutes.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, you couldn't tell at all.
Yeah, going out, and we're like, I don't know what's gonna happen here. But it wasn't until I saw him walk out, and I was like, oh. Okay.
It's gonna be all right. It's gonna be okay. It's
maybe
gonna be fine.
I think we're gonna be fine. Yeah.
This challenge gave hope to so many crazy cat ladies like me.
know.
We're like, one day my prince will come and he will have yarn
And
on
it
his
will be
horns.
my cat in the
It will
form
be-
of a hell
yes.
demon.
That's my
Perfect.
dream.
Perfect.
My cat's already a hell demon, so I was like, well, there you go. Now, the bottom looks this week, which even that was difficult
I know.
because
Yeah.
everyone's was so good. This is really
yeah.
the first time that we've seen a very, what I feel, almost impossible choice to say who is going to be bottom looks this week, which that's good that it was for the wedding challenge. So everybody, all the couples were at least really happy.
Yeah.
But Missy and Jason were, as Glenn said, pretty convinced that they were going to be top looks.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he said that is worrisome.
Yeah.
Because they were super proud and confident walking out.
Yeah.
And then
It was not
immediately were like, I have to disagree with you.
Actually, Ginger Flair in the chat roll here was saying that both of her favorites were in the bottom looks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because it's something we talked about that the makeups on this episode overall across the board were incredibly strong.
We're great.
Yeah.
And if it was a different challenge, that might have been top looks, you know,
sure.
for a different week. So
Yeah, and something I want to bring up about this makeup is that I think if they had gone with a peppier color choice, they might not have been bottom looks.
well, that they had Cassandra and Matthew, and their whole concept, they were engaged on a bridge, so they wanted to have it this where they both jump off the bridge, like a suicide thing, so they could be together.
Right.
Which, you know, it did have a couple technical issues.
Sure.
They mentioned, you know, the neck was broken and
And
the
it looked-
sag was on the wrong side.
Yeah.
Where they should have moved
Yes.
that to the side that it would naturally sag.
Yep.
Yes, that is a technical thing.
Yes.
That is something that if it was a realistic situation would be on the other
absolutely.
side. But the ultimate look of it, the silhouette, the idea, the concept, and then having her pull up the neck, you know, to kiss. I just thought it was so clever.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's kind of an issue that Missy has run into this whole season thus far, is having these makeups that are almost too dark in color that become muddied. And that is one that if it was a slightly brighter color or even just had some, you know, highlight that were in
Right.
more of a cartoon-esque color that didn't feel so realistic, because
Right.
that story as a whimsical, like, cartoon, oh, they jumped to their death to be together, then you're like, okay, but then if they walk out and they actually look like, oh, they jumped to their death to be together, you're like, ooh.
It's a little
Yowza.
too macabre and not so much on the whimsical, because I mean, I think, you know, if Ricky and Jordan's makeup had gone with a darker makeup, they might have suffered some criticism too, but since they went for those bright turquoises and still, they were still dark, they still looked like zombies, but they incorporated those pops of color, and they did also have those more exaggerated cartoony shapes. I think with just a little bit of adjustment, this makeup could have crushed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we even said, you know, that it was the paint job that killed it. But which was unfortunate, but I still, you know, if you're going to be bottom looks, at least have one that other people are saying was one of their favorites.
Absolutely.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
this was definitely a very well executed makeup. They were fun characters, and I kind of agree. It really was just a different paint job would have made a world of difference.
Yeah.
And I know Meg and Nora were very kind of the opposite end of the spectrum. They even say we were very aware of our shortcomings this week. They had Michael and Devin, and Michael's an artist. They wanted to incorporate that. So the concept was that their artist created a drawing and then kills themselves, and then the drawing comes to life and then kills himself as well so they can be together. Which I thought, you know, the color choices, that was cool, having the throat slit and having it bleed paint.
I thought that was cool, yeah.
I liked that, and I liked that they incorporated the brush strokes, but as V mentioned, you can't see that from far back.
No. Again, this was another instance of, and I know I was saying this last week with one of the teams, where I loved the concept, and the execution just didn't live up to the concept, in my opinion.
It was not, they even said, not far enough whimsical or macabre.
Exactly.
It was kind of too middle ground.
And they knew that also.
Yes. But it's good to know,
Yeah.
you know, and to be able to say, but they still were able to execute something that looked really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the couple really liked, but, you know, it was, as I believe it was Neville said, it was like poorly executed drag makeup, which that is a rough thing, you know, to have said about your makeup at all, but then especially for a wedding, you're like, oh, yowza.
Yep. Yikes.
But here we go. The end of the episode ended with, wait for it, twist! This is our first big twist this season. Mackenzie performs the wedding and then says, you know, we had business to attend to. Here are the top looks. Here are the winners. Jasmine, also congratulations.
Yeah,
on,
which, by the way, I
win.
mean, let's talk about the fact that, Ben, you were on the winning team for the 100th episode of Face Off.
I know, that's pretty.
That's amazing.
That's so rad.
That's amazing. And them saying, we're not even sure who to pick as a winner because you guys are both so awesome.
Yeah.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
So good job.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I felt so lucky to be teamed up with Jasmine. She's just, I don't know. I've got so many good things to say about her. She's become one of my very close friends. Like after the show.
That's awesome.
She's just, I learned a lot from her, like on that show. And
She's so fun.
Yeah,
she's
I love her.
Like, she's like the queen of like color. Like anytime I had color questions, I always went to her with.
Aww.
And she was just so like, you know, cool about like just like, yeah, you just do this and whatever. And I was like,
Well, it definitely worked out because paint jobs on those were phenomenal.
But
But our big twist is that they went to go celebrate. They said, you know, we do have bottom looks. Somebody has to go home. But first, let's cut some cake. Let's celebrate some weddings. Let's all cheers. And then they didn't tell us.
then
Who lost?
credits.
To be continued.
You know, what a great way to end a wedding show, though.
Alexis, you are crushing it on these sounds. I love it. So that is... I love it. Yeah, that's this one. I like that they ended it with a happy note. There was no somber.
Yeah.
You know, someone's going home. It was, let's all celebrate that this was a very successful week, very successful looks, and the most important day of a bunch of people's lives.
Yeah. Kim Lechman, I think, at Kim Lechman on Twitter, tweeted using that hashtag ABTV Faceoff, saying that I hope no one goes home on the 100th episode. Well, Kim, you got your wish.
You made it so, you face-off genie.
Please wish that for every other episode.
Oh, well, we have a wish, and that's that you join us next week when we continue this episode and
find out who's going home.
Yeah, and
don't
get
know
to
either.
see you guys do your first individual challenges. That's
Yeah.
pretty exciting.
Pretty wild.
So we'll see some more of Ben, I'm sure, crushing it
Yes.
even more.
my
Again,
best.
be sure to tweet at us using that hashtag AVTV Faceoff. Subscribe, comment, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, all that good stuff. Now, again, you can find me on Twitter at Elena Jordan. And where can we find you?
can find me on Twitter at Emma Fyffe. It's my name. I just also want to give a shout out to our fan Michaela, who joined us in the chat roll tonight. She and Michaela, I saw you commented. I actually agreed with the judges this week, and I agree with you.
There you go. And where can we find?
Oh, you can find me on Twitter at Ben Ploughguy. That's BenPlowguy. And,
Clever, I like
I
it.
say things.
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
And he's on Face Off, guys. Keep watching it. He's still on the show.
We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.